How do you keep players going? How do you keep people playing your game? For a lot of developers, namely indie devs, this is a hard question to answer, because from a game developer's standpoint, you want people to play your game as long as possible, so it can be hard to create ways to entice people to stay longer. Of course, this does depend heavily on what game you are crafting, but it's still something you have to overcome eventually. So how exactly do developers entice people to stay? Well, a number of different games do it a number of different ways. One example we can draw from is Apex Legends. In Apex, the way they keep players engaged and motivated to keep going is via the Battle Pass, a short bundle of content that rewards the players for playing longer and completing challenges. But outside of simply rewarding the player for spending time in your game, other games take a different route. Roguelikes. Games in the same vein as The Binding of Isaac, Hades, and Risk of Rain 2 go at it a different way. Instead, these games choose to entice people to play longer by either giving them permanent upgrades and characters that will aid them in future runs, but also by targeting the brain itself by giving you moments of adrenaline and runs that seem downright flawless. In general, these games are designed to entice you to keep going. However, like I said, a number of different games do it a number of different ways, so how do single player games like Breath of the Wild and Metroid Dread make sure you play longer? Well, in Breath of the Wild, when developing the game, the devs decided to do something called the triangle rule. Basically a rule for creating the world that gives the player the choice of either going around or directly through something. This can be seen all over the game, the towers, to mountains, to even landmarks. However, I'll leave a link to a video by Design Doc that goes over more in depth on how the developers implemented this rule. But anyways, the devs keep people playing longer with this rule by either giving a reward like a Korok Seed or Shrine, or by giving the players a shortcut to somewhere that they needed to go. In either case, this entices people to play longer as it keeps that sense of wonder and discovery fresh in the mind, which leads into wanting to feed into that feeling more. But Breath of the Wild is just one of the games that I listed earlier, so let's go over Metroid Dread. In Dread, the devs decided to do something that Game Maker's Toolkit calls breadcrumbing. To put it simply, the devs put items and upgrades around the map in specific locations in order to guide the player. However, this also ensures that the player is given items on a somewhat normal basis to entice him to keep going. But if you want to know more about this, then I'll leave a link to Game Maker's Toolkit's video. So we've covered certain games and entice people to play longer, but what about other games like RPGs and visual novels? Well, in these games, the main driving factor for a lot of people is the story. So it's no surprise that the main driving factor pushing people to play longer is an increasingly interesting story. A story that gives you enough and pushes you enough at times in order for you to play longer. Games like Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and Necrobrace that do this well, as they spoon feed you enough to make you stay longer. But why cover all this at all? Well, to be honest, I'm creating a game myself, and I personally needed to figure out a way to make people stay longer in my game. So while I'm considering the neon white route and making a leaderboard, I wanted to examine how other games handle this topic so that maybe I can implement them somehow into my game. But outside of that, that's all I gotta say for the video, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.